journalist Beth Gardner now, who's in our central London studio. Beth Gardner, thanks very much indeed for joining us tonight on Sky News. Who can fail to be moved by watching Neil Heslin there giving evidence? And yet, do you think, even after Connecticut, that the anti-gun lobby has the traction now to make that cultural change, which is so resistant in America?
Well, it's been a very emotional set of hearings there in Washington today, as you've shown, and it is a very emotional issue. I think, in fact, looking at some of the polling, there is quite a lot of public support in terms of public opinion in the United States now for some of these changes, but that is not really the question. The question more is whether the support is there in Congress. On the particular component of the package which is being debated today, the assault weapons ban, which has been put forward by Senator Feinstein and backed strongly by President Obama, it is seen as having almost no chance of passage. As you mentioned, there was a similar ban which took effect in the early 90s and expired after 10 years. But that was passed when Democrats were in charge, and the Republicans now do control the House of Representatives, and they're very strongly opposed to this. It does look, however, like there may be some grounds for compromise and accomplishment in a couple of other areas. The one that seems the most likely at this point is an expansion of background checks. At the moment, there's a very large loophole, which means that about 40% of gun sales in the U.S., the purchaser is not subject to any background check at all. And Congress at the moment, in addition to this assault weapons ban, is also debating whether to close that loophole and require background checks. There are also some proposals for tighter enforcement of laws against trafficking, which would stop people from buying large numbers of weapons and selling them in states with looser rules, as well as a limit on the size of these very high-capacity magazines, which allow people to shoot off a tremendous number of bullets at one time.
Beth, what is the attraction of the assault rifle to American civilians?
You know, this AR-15, which is being debated and is often held up at these kinds of events, it was used in Newtown. It is the biggest selling gun in America. There are absolutely thousands and thousands of them sold, every week. People are drawn to these. There's a sporting aspect, I suppose. There are people who believe that as firepower is increasing, I guess, all over the place, that they need them to defend themselves. It certainly is an area where the two sides have a tremendous amount of difficulty understanding one another. People who oppose wide open gun rights really cannot understand why anyone would want to own one of these weapons, short of being a soldier on the battlefield. But there are many people who very, very stridently defend their right to buy them.
But is there still this culture that Americans feel this need to defend themselves, that they constantly feel as if they're under threat, that they need to have an arsenal in their homes?
Well, it's an issue of defense, and it also seems to be an issue of rights and constitutional rights, and goes along with a lot of the sort of anti-government feelings of really wanting to limit government and, give people the power and right to do what they want.
Beth Gardner, thanks very much indeed for joining us this evening on Sky News.
Thank you.